What's up, y'all? It's episode 2, and we're getting into ghosting, breadcrumbing, and situationships. All of them have their own meaning. Let's think about it like this. Modern day dating is like you're dating to either get ghosted, you're getting sucked dry, and not in the good way. I mean, it's like a haunted house. There's a monster or a horror show around every single corner. Or you're like getting strung along like your boo-boo the fool. And situations are coming at you left and right like Sharkeisha with a closed fist. And you're sitting there screaming, Sharkeisha, no! At this rate, some people rather take their chances playing games with Jigsaw. I'm just saying, you might get out of there safe and sound. Maybe a couple of bruises here and there. But just to your ego, nothing crazy. Some people might take another chance at it and end up looking like Pennywise. Do you want to be called it? Y'all know what I'm getting at. Nah, it's not just me. Let's get into it. If you've ever stared at your phone wondering why somebody has disappeared and not returned any of your text messages, or randomly got a hey big head text weeks later, this episode's for you. You're now tuned into It's Not Just Me podcast with Mr. MoTo. Let's talk about it. Episode 2, we are talking about ghosting, breadcrumbing, and situationships. All of them have different meanings, like I said. According to Google, ghosting means to disappear without any form of explanation. None whatsoever. You do not, no hint, no nothing. It's complete cut off, cold turkey. That person is left wondering, what did they do? And we've all been there. I've ghosted, I've been ghosted. Now, the question is, why does it happen? And how do we avoid it? But we'll get into that. Let's go on to the next one. Breadcrumbing. That is the situation where it kind of just sounds like what it says. Breadcrumbing. You're just leaving little crumbs and somebody just, picking them up, picking them up, picking them up, wondering when they're going to get to the whole loaf. And they're never going to get to the whole loaf. Never. Some people string people along because they just want to keep them around as an option, or they love the attention. You never know. But we're going to figure out what the signs are of breadcrumbing and figure out how to stay away from it. And last but not least, we have situationships. I think that's the one that everybody opts for. It's like going on vacation. You go there, you have a good time, and you leave. No commitment, no you gotta do. Nah, it's just a good time. Now, when it becomes a little bit more than a situationship where feelings get involved, that's when the water gets muddy. That's when a lot of people start to, what? Ghost. What's going on, y'all? It's Mr. Moto, and let me tell you about Camp What About Us. It's the adult summer camp that you don't want to miss, all right? It's going down June the 13th to June the 15th. We got basketball, softball, kickball, flag football, wall climbing, go-karting. We got tons of events, tons of activities to get into. Oh, man, everything from wellness to chilling and just, having a good time. Being nostalgic about being a kid again, man. Remember, June 13th to June 15th, campwhataboutus.com. Sign up. I like to have my facts. I like to make sure all the numbers is right, or at least have some form of fact that backs what I'm saying. We keep it 100 over here at It's Not Just Me podcast, all right? So, according to my good friends over there at Pew Research Center, around 29% of adult Americans get ghosted or have reported they have been ghosted. That's roughly a quarter of the population. Now, a quarter of the population gets ghosted. That means 9 times out of 10, one of y'all have been ghosted before. And it's okay. Like, I put out the word on Instagram and I asked, who's been ghosted before? A couple of people answered. You know who you are. Appreciate y'all. But just keep it real with yourself. Like, you could be the baddest person on the planet and still get ghosted. You never know what's the reason. Or you might just run into a situation and you just don't feel like pursuing this person anymore. Not for any relationship reasons. It might just be for some personal reasons. Something might have came up, but you opted to ghost the person. We got to get down to the root of why do we do that and how do we avoid doing that? I mean, you know what? Let me share a little quick ghosting story with y'all. So, in my college years, I had a good time. I'm not gonna lie. I had a good time. And situationships were like, I was like boyfriend number two. And it was like so easy. Like I had no commitments. Like I didn't have any responsibilities. I didn't have to make sure I hit the Valentine's days, the birthdays. I could have just sent a happy birthday, maybe get a rose or something, and I'm still cool. Hey, it's the truth. What you want me to do? But as time progressed, you realize, nah, man, like this situationship, either you start to catch feelings, and I ain't gonna front. I had a few joints that I caught feelings for. Didn't work out. So maybe I ghosted them or they ghosted me. Nonetheless, we've all been there. But we're going to take a deep dive in episode 2 and really talk about it and try to figure out how do we avoid these situations so that we can end up probably in a long-term relationship or find somebody that lasts for more than a week and you don't have to just completely stop talking to them and let the blue bubble go green or you don't see that message delivered. Nah, it's not just me. You're now tuned into Nah, It's Not Just Me podcast with Mr. MoTo. Let's talk about it. So we covered what ghosting is, right? It's completely cutting the person off, no explanations whatsoever. But there's different forms of ghosting. There's what we call soft ghosting. It's like you gradually stop talking to this person. You literally slow roll the texts from hey, what's up, to just hey, to just have a good day. It's like nothing, no kind of substance whatsoever in the conversation, but you're just doing the bare minimum instead of just saying, hey, you know what? This is not working out. This just not clicking. It might have been fun in the beginning, but the honeymoon's over. We should stop, or I'd like to stop. Why is it that we don't opt to take that route? Now, if we opt to take that route, the let's talk about it route, 9 times out of 10, it kind of leads to a confrontation. So most people fear confrontation. Like you fear having to explain yourself, having something drawn out where it doesn't need to be. You literally get caught up in having to express your feelings. And I think that's the first bump in the road. Expressing feelings. Why can't we just do it? Like, what's the problem? We tend to always, we sugarcoat it. Now, the sugarcoating might be some of that leading the person on, and that's part of like the breadcrumbing. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Imagine going from talking to somebody every single day, every hour on the hour, to complete dead silence, nothing. That'll drive you nuts, especially if you're trying to be a person that was genuinely trying to get to know somebody and then they just completely cut you off. It's like, whoa, like as a human being, you would expect an explanation. You would want to understand. And the person that's ghosting, maybe give them an explanation. So maybe whatever mistake they made with you or whatever it is that happened with you, they will look for those signs so that they could avoid that. When you're with somebody, I think most people that end up being friends afterwards or being cordial for that matter, it's because they never wasted each other's time. They made it so that if we amicably stop doing this and say, yeah, enough is enough, they're able to walk away with positives. Oh, I learned that about myself. Or I learned what I should be looking to avoid at all costs. So making the situation or the talking stage worth it is actually, at least learning something about from one another instead of you don't even help that person by, speak in your mind, expressing what it is that made you ghost them. But before you even ghost them, have that conversation. Confrontation is one thing that really kind of pushes everybody away from that. Who wants to get into a confrontation about, I don't want to talk to you no more? Who? We're adults. We want to be able to have conversations. We want to be able to communicate. But if we don't learn to communicate, all we keep doing is creating this horrible circle of hurt people hurting people. We could avoid that. Stop ghosting people. The second reason somebody might get ghosted They lost feelings. It happens. But because they don't want to hurt that person's feelings, instead of having those conversations, they just opt to say, hey, it's better to just peel this band aid off real quick and never look at it again. But at the end of the day, like I said, you're leaving that person vulnerably in the dark and they don't know what's going on. They don't know what happened. Put yourself in that person's shoes. If something came up where that person just don't do it for you no more, like, you got the ick, the thing that makes you never want to talk to that person again. It's the ultimate turnoff. Whatever you saw in them before, you don't care about right now. It's over for that. Ladies, you guys get the ick a lot. And if we took a poll, I don't know. I think you guys would end up on the higher end of the scale of people that ghost. I don't know. Just my thoughts. Where there are straightforward and direct women where they will say, no, I am no longer interested in this. It's not serving me or my spirit. For all the ladies that love the gems and the crystals out there, I ain't trying to play y'all. I got my gems and my crystals as well. But if it's not serving them anymore, they're more likely to say, yeah, this ain't for me anymore. I think nowadays men have been stepping it up and, nah, I'm not for this anymore. But y'all tend to call them men sassy. I don't think it's sassy. I just think it's a person that's saying, this is what I'm for and this is what I want. If you can't give it to me, this is not the place for me. But instead of ghosting them fellas and ladies, have that conversation. If you're not feeling that person anymore, you've lost feelings, you've lost attraction or interest, speak on it. Yes, you may have to explain yourself, but you're also an adult. Formulate your words. It don't got to turn into no shouting match, nothing disrespectful. Communicate. That's it. It ain't nothing else. It ain't no cheat code. Just communicate. Say how you feel, mean it, and stick to it. Stand 10 toes down, right? That's all you got to do, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? I just know it's not just me. And last but not least, you have what we call emotional immaturity. The inability to really look at it from a logical perspective and say, you know what? I'm going to be a mature person about this and not only worry about my emotions, but I'm going to think about the other person. Yes, I'm going to think about the other person and their feelings. And what I'll do is deliver my emotions properly with communication so that it could be effective and never come off as avoidance tendencies. Yes, we tend to avoid those hard conversations. Just have a communication, just talk. At the end of the day, it's part of being an adult. It's part of taking accountability. It's part of acknowledging where there's a problem or where there's something that doesn't fit your life. It doesn't serve your purpose. Why would you stick around? But you also shouldn't ghost nobody. You also should be able to use your words, communicate, so that at the end of the day, both of y'all could walk away from that situation learning something from each other, not having any disdain. You might feel a little way. We're human, but it ain't gonna really be hatred. Yeah, some people don't like to be criticized. Some people don't like to be looked at as less than or you didn't meet the standard. But at the end of the day, it's all right. Everybody's not for everybody. You're going to find a pot that your lid covers, but until you do that, you don't have to keep forcing no lids onto pots that just ain't for you. It just don't match. However, what you can do is if this pot don't match, yeah, I'm just not for you. Like this you're not for me. It's cool though. Go about your business. You ain't gotta ghost nobody. It's just not mature. So I've been ghosted before. Yes, I've been ghosted before. Listen, it happens to everybody. I don't care what nobody says. If you don't want to admit it to yourself, or you might not have seen the signs and realized that's what was happening, it's happened to you. You've been ghosted. It might bruise your ego a little bit, and I know it did. Back in my mid to late 20s, I was in a lot of situationships and I was having a lot of fun. I didn't want the burden of being in a committed relationship. What? I didn't. Like, who wants that responsibility? I was able to be boyfriend number two, the other guy, just the hookup. And I was cool with that. Like I didn't have no issues with it because again, I was coming off a breakup and it was a hard breakup for me. So I just went into my future phase. Like and I would do the ghosting. So I guess relationship karma came back to bite me in my ass and it hurt. Like my ego was bruised, my pride was kind of hurt a little bit, and I started to have like self-doubt. But let me give you a little context. I would question myself like, was there something wrong with me? So I met this girl in college. We had like, we had a good time in college or whatever. But even during college, like we went our separate ways. We still remained cordial, like maybe I might have to spin the block later on in life. I don't know. Anything's possible. But it was always chill. So after graduating college, we reconnected. And, she was living out of state and I was living out of state. So it was like, it was really like a FaceTime continuously on the phone thing. But we were always on the phone. I'm talking about like that high school, that teenage kind of feeling like, when you got your legs up on the wall and you laying down and you on the phone till like the sun come up. Yeah, that type of energy. And it was going good. So I said, you know what? Let me do something nice, something I ain't do before when I was like in my 20s. Yeah, I traveled, but I didn't really like say, hey, shorty I'm talking to or shorty I'm dating or whoever I'm in a situationship with, hey, let's get out of town. Let's go OT real quick. I ain't do that. I just wanted to hang out. What? We was always just chilling. But I said, you know what, this time around, I'm gonna do something nice. So I booked the flights, got the hotel, hit her up. I said, hey, look, maybe we should get out of town. How do you feel about this? And she was down for it. Sent the information. I'm talking about first name, last name, birthday, all the stuff that you need to book the flights and to get the situation situated. You feel me? Not a week or two later, straight no response. I'm talking about complete silence. I'm like, nah, what's up? Like, even to this day, like, even if I tried, I wouldn't hear from her. I don't understand. I never understood what it was. What happens to those that get ghosted? There's three factors: confusion, because you don't know what the hell's going on. Like, you don't know where it went wrong. Like, and the fact that there's no communication, no explanation, it really throws you for a loop. So you're like really trying to figure it out. And now you get into the phase of self doubt. Like, you start to figure, wait, is there something wrong with me? Like, did I do something wrong? Like, what's up? Like, it's not adding up. So you kind of start to second guess yourself. Maybe second guess the ways that you approached it. Maybe you rethinking about everything that you did, something you said, how you carried yourself. Like something might have been you. And now you have closure issues because you're really still trying to figure it out. Like you don't know how to walk away from it. Like you might just leave it alone for a little bit, but something will spark that memory in your mind, and boom, you now right back to thinking about what was it? Like what did I do wrong? Maybe it affects you when you're trying to move on because you can't move on because of trying to understand like what did I do to this person that I deserve to be ghosted? Like what was it? So a lot of the times, if we could just have that conversation, you kind of could help people out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what, when you first meet the person, it's two of y'all in the situation. So when you leaving, at least leave amicably. Don't leave a person trying to figure out what's wrong with them, especially if it wasn't them. Or if it was something that they did, enlighten them. Help them out so that it doesn't happen in the future. And they could find that person that's supposed to be their person, right? It's cordial. It's what's right. It's like it's what human decency is. It's like, yo, you might not be the one for me, but if you find the one that's for you, let me make sure I could give you whatever constructive criticism. Now be respectful. Don't, be calling people out their name or trying to play them like they was, smaller than what they are. Everybody's a person. Like everybody got feelings. Be respectful. Convey the message. Communicate. And let them know what it is that, yo, this didn't rub you the right way. So moving forward, maybe you might want to work on that. Maybe it's something that you might want to work on yourself, or it might be the other person that needs to work on themselves. But communication is possibly the biggest key that you can help people with when it comes to ghosting, especially if you don't want to have them to have any type of self doubt, any type of confusion. Make sure they don't have no closure issues. That's all I'm saying. Nah, it's not just me. There are moments in which ghosting might be your only choice. Yes, it might be a good thing to ghost somebody. But here are the instances for safety precautions, of course. If you feel like your life is threatened, your safety is threatened, fuck it. Your mental peace is threatened. Listen, by all means, if it's what's right for you, if this is what you feel is the best thing to do, and that is to ghost somebody, then do it, especially if it's for your safety. You don't owe nobody anything when it comes to your safety. Like, because ain't nobody going to protect you but you. When there's like toxic energy, that them toxic interactions, when every time y'all get together, it's like a royal rumble. It's always a fight. It's always something that just gets out of hand. If you 9 times out of 10, if that's where it always goes, having a conversation ain't really gonna help the situation. It's gonna be more of a confrontation. And we don't want confrontations. We want smooth. We're gonna have an easy break. Let's just nip it at the bud, have our conversation, and go away amicably. But if it's a situation where it tends to go into altercations and interactions that aren't peaceful, they're very much toxic, hit the ghost button. It's all right. Because again, you want to protect yourself at all costs when it comes to your safety and your peace. Realistically, it just really takes a conversation. Being able to articulate your words and understanding the person that you're speaking to and delivering that message for them, that's the best way, in my opinion. Just be an adult about it. Take the accountability, have the conversations, acknowledge it. Yeah, they don't be easy, but they be necessary. And it's much better than ghosting. Nah, it's not just me. What's going on, y'all? It's Mr. MoTo, and let me tell you about Camp What About Us. It's the adult summer camp that you don't want to miss, all right? It's going down June the 13th to June the 15th. We got basketball, softball, kickball, flag football, wall climbing, go-karting. We got tons of events, tons of activities to get into. Oh man, everything from wellness to chilling and just, having a good time. Being nostalgic about being a kid again, man. Remember, June 13th to June 15th, campwhataboutus.com. Sign up. So, breadcrumbing. We've spoken about it, right? The misleading, the breadcrumb trails that'll never lead to the whole loaf, leading the person along, but it ain't going nowhere. That kind of energy. Why do we do it? Sometimes it's to feed the ego, knowing that there's somebody that's willing to bend and break at whatever it is that you want from them. And they're going to do it because they're prioritizing you. They're wanting you to either see them for the person that they want to be for you, whatever the case may be. But it's not really what you really care for, but it's cool at the time, so you will take the attention. You'll let your ego get boosted, but you're also wasting that person's time. That's breadcrumbing. That's leading a person on, knowing that it's not really going nowhere. You're there for a short time, not a long time. So, what are the signs of breadcrumbing? Well, you have, the sporadic, vague conversation, hey, hey, big head, conversations that happen every other week. If you're not the first person to text, they don't text. That's along the lines of breadcrumbing. That person is not necessarily prioritizing you. They're they'll be attentive sometimes, but it ain't gonna be what you expect it to be. Like, especially if you're trying to get to know this person, court this person, be with this person, whatever the case may be. Some people get breadcrumbed for weeks, months, years. Guilty. But you got to pay attention to the signs. So you'll have sporadic, vague communication, bare minimum when it comes to actually hanging out. Like, I'm talking about those empty promises that, hey, yeah, we're going to hang out. Never happens. Yeah, we can go to dinner. Just let me know when you're free. You let them know, and they're never free. Hey, you want to go grab some ice cream? Sure, no problem. Let me know when. Never happens. Oh, I'm going to call you back. Never happens. You're always making the effort. no effort really comes from them. But once in a blue moon, they'll actually show up just to keep you feeling like, oh, wow, yeah, I it did make sense. All the energy that I put into this. Look, they made time. Nah, that time was possibly they canceled something else, rescheduled with somebody else. Eh, they wanted something to eat and they knew that you were going to take them out. They wanted a good time and they knew you got a good time for them. But other than that, eh, there's no consistency. It's literally a waste of your time. That's when you're being led on. That's when you're dealing with a breadcrumbing situation. You don't want that. Prioritize yourself. Do for them what they would do for you. If they prioritize you, you prioritize them. If you call them and they call you, you pick up, they pick up, yeah. Keep it consistent and keep that reciprocity going. But other than that, if it ain't the same energy, like Chris Brown said, chuck them to deuces because it ain't worth it. What do you do when you run into those situations? Oh, glad you asked. Here's some things to do. First things first, you're going to want to recognize that behavior early. All right. Once you start to see a person is not reciprocating the same energy that you putting out, now take it with a grain of salt and give a person some grace period. But when it starts to become excessive, it's never a moment where it feels consistent. That if you ask them out on maybe 3 or 4 dates and it's always something coming up, all right, yeah, schedules get conflicted. But at that point, if you're really dealing with somebody and you like them or you're giving them a shot, you would make an effort to schedule properly. I'm just saying. If they're not doing those things, they're not showing up when you're showing up, they're not engaging how you're engaging. Those are signs. Set your boundaries. Let it be known what it is that you're there for and what type of energy you're putting out and what you're, I hate the word expectation, but what you would like to see coming from the person that you're pursuing. If they're not willing to at least give you half of the energy that you're giving them, it's not worth it. Like, yeah, it's a cat and mouse game where the men are the pursuers and the women are the people that we're trying to get you. That's it. That's been the game since the beginning of time. But if it's always a chase and I ain't never gonna catch, like there's no way I'm catching it, why am I even doing this? Like what's the point? What am I in it for? It's a waste of time. So don't mislead anybody. Don't lead them on. Be forward. If it's not what you want, let it go. Like I said, if they can't make time for you, you don't make time for them. If they can't show up for you, you don't show up for them. Don't bend over backwards for somebody that's not willing to even do a squat for you. Don't do it. At the end of the day, if they realize, oh, nah, I need to show up, then they're going to do that. If not, that's your answer right there. Walk away. The universe is giving you an out. Take it. I know it's not just me. You're now tuned into Nah It's Not Just Me podcast with Mr. MoTo. Let's talk about it. So we've covered situationships, but let's refresh your memory real quick. Situationships, a romantic or sexual relationship without labels or commitment. Why did they become so popular in the 2020s? Well, fear of commitment, knowing that you don't have the responsibilities of a full on relationship, but you get to have, you know, a good time. It's the desire for a connection without the traditional relationship, rules. You could smash, you could possibly even hang out, go to the movies, out for dinner, cup of coffee, smash afterwards, maybe a vacation. You're on somebody's balcony somewhere doing adult things, but you don't have the full on commitment. Yeah, fear of commitment is a thing. Guilty. I know most people probably get fear of commitment because of past relationships and they're still going through PTSD. You're not healed. Because if you were healed, you would know as soon as it looks like that particular relationship that you ran away from or you got your heart broken in, you wouldn't even entertain it no more. You would be like, nah, I'm good. Been there, done that. Don't want it no more. But we tend to take the easy way out, knowing that we could deal with somebody, no commitments, no love lockdown, just smash and dash once in a while. Maybe we hang out, go see a movie, but you ain't my girl. I ain't your man. But it tends to get shaky. The waters do get muddy. Why? Because emotions are something all humans have. Whether they're good emotions, bad ones, we all have them. So from time to time, it might start off as just, I want to smash, and that's it. That's all I need. I don't need nothing else. And then that pussy got you feeling like nobody else can have her. She's mine. Or y'all don't want to share, ladies. Y'all don't want to share. That's where we get to. And the waters start to get muddy. One person might want more. One person might feel completely comfortable with where it's at. But and that ain't knocking the boots. That's just knocking heads. There's a disagreement. What should occur? Communication. But ain't no communication happening. So kind of goes back to point number one, ghosting. Or they might be adults about it and do have that talk. But somebody's going to walk away heartbroken. It's kind of what it is. Now, is it worth it? To some. Some people are fine with no commitment. Some people are fine with just strictly having situationships because they are terrified at commitment, terrified at being in a relationship, and terrified of being heartbroken again. When we could admit that to ourselves, I think we'll be able to step away from situationships and really lock down, learn who we are, and not for nothing, heal before we try to attempt to just find companionship, whether it leads to a full on relationship or you realize, nah, this person just ain't for me. That's a red flag again. I don't want it. Another reason why situationships have become very prevalent in the 2020s is a lot of people have prioritized becoming an entrepreneur, putting their needs first. So their time is very limited. So all they really got time for is just that, a situationship where it doesn't require much. It doesn't feel like I have to clock in and do all these other things that relationships sometimes seem to require. It's the easy way out. Is it selfish? No, not really, because maybe your focus is just somewhere else, but you still are human. You still want that human interaction, that physical touch, that quality time, those things that relationships come with. But you don't want the burden of having to be committed to something else when you're trying to commit to moving forward with your endeavors and your goals and the things you want to achieve, and you feel like a relationship would be a distraction for that. Those things happen. Now, is it okay? Yeah, if both people are on the same page and that's what they down for. But I think that's also something that should consistently be revisited to make sure that, hey, we're still good. We're on the same page. Like smashing, hanging out a couple of times, maybe going out to eat when it's possible, a few phone calls here and there, maybe a FaceTime. That's cool with you still? We're good? No problem. But if it isn't, still, conversation should be had. You don't want nobody wasting your time. You're already trying to prioritize it for something else. So, have the conversations. It might be tough, but again, in the long run, it's beneficial for both parties involved. I'm just saying. So, are situationships always bad? No, I don't think so. Again, you just got to be very clear. Let them know what the intent is. If you're able to clarify any boundaries from Jump Street and literally lay it out on the table, this is what I got, this is what I'm offering, this is all it is. If there's a mutual agreement, then by all means, I think situationships can work. I've also been there. I've had successful situationships that just fizzled out to becoming where either we ended up becoming really, really good friends, but we just knew, all that other stuff, yeah, we good. It's cool. We've hit the pinnacle. It can't get no better than this. So it's all right. Again, it always leads down to a conversation. To sum it up, when it starts to feel like there's an emotional imbalance, unwarranted expectations, a conversation should be had. Because if there's a mutual agreement at first, and then now you start to see a shift in emotions, you start to see, well, why you ain't doing this? Or I expect you to do that. Why you ain't come home? Why you wearing that? This, that, and the third. Those seem to be things that are relationship based questions versus in a situationship, nah. We have our clear agreement. We choose to respect one another. Don't ask, don't tell, whatever the case may be. If those are the things you agreed upon, until you revisit that conversation, those are the things you agreed upon. Or you have a conversation and say, this ain't working for me no more. I don't want to do it. I'm too emotionally invested now and I don't want to get hurt. Some people just don't want to be able to say, I don't want to be vulnerable to you by telling you how I actually feel. So you can't use that against me. Yeah, it's fucked up when people use it against you. Totally fucked up. But at the same time, if you've been talking to this person and vice versa, y'all should be able to share certain kind of information without feeling vulnerable and feeling like somebody should use it against you. I know it's not just me thinking this stuff. What's going on, y'all? It's Mr. MoTo, and let me tell you about Camp What About Us. It's the adult summer camp that you don't want to miss, all right? It's going down June the 13th to June the 15th. We got basketball, softball, kickball, flag football, wall climbing, go-karting. We got tons of events, tons of activities to get into. Oh man, everything from wellness to chilling and just, having a good time. Being nostalgic about being a kid again, man. Remember, June 13th to June 15th, campwhataboutus.com. Sign up. So, like I said, man, ghosting, breadcrumbing, situationships, there are ways to mitigate this stuff. Like, one, pay attention to the red flags. There's signs. There's signs of breadcrumbing. It might not be signs of ghosting, because sometimes it just happens out of nowhere. If you feel like you're about to ghost somebody, think twice. Would you like it to happen to you? And if not, just have the conversation. Yes, it might be tough. It might be real tough. But it's worth the peace of mind at the end of the day. You don't want to deal with having the headaches of, oh, what's going on? Why did this person stop talking to me? What did I do wrong? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just mad unnecessary work. You're now tuned into Nah It's Not Just Me podcast with Mr. MoTo. Let's talk about it. Before we close, I did tap in with my audience on social media, again, on my Instagram page, at the real DJ Mr. MoTo. That's what we want. We want to engage with you. All right? Tap in. I have reached out to my Instagram followers and I said, hey, how many of you guys ever got ghosted? And be honest. 5 people responded, guys. 5. I have over 2,000 something followers on social media. I don't know. I guess that's not enough for like a response. I guess I'm not the shade room. Sorry, guys. But nonetheless, out of those 5 people that responded, 3 of them stated that they have been ghosted before, and 2 of them stated that, nah, they love it here. They've never been ghosted. It's just not something that happens with them. It's 5. It's good 20%. That's out of 100, right? So roughly kind of falls within the lines of what Pew Research Center said. 29% of adult Americans have been ghosted before. And between 18 and 30, about 42% have been ghosted. So it happens more so in, Gen Z era than millennial era, though we still face those issues with ghosting and breadcrumbing and situationships. We've become a society where we're just afraid of commitment, and maybe rightfully so. Like, some people have been super hurt and they've yet to heal. Take your time. Heal yourself first before you jump back in there, so you don't end up in another situationship. So you don't end up getting ghosted because somebody didn't know how to convey a message to you that maybe you just weren't emotionally ready for a relationship or to be involved with anybody. These are just conversations to be had, people. That's all we really need to do. I did speak to one of our listeners. It's crazy. Before I even said what the next episode was about, she jumped into telling me about ghosting. So she shared a story with me. Now, fellas, we tend to do this a lot, and we really should stop. Let's act our age. Some of y'all still don't act your age. It's the truth. It's the truth. But let's not do these things where if we are just not emotionally ready, we're not ready to go all in, don't waste these women's time. Especially the good women. There's a lot of good women out there. Y'all are overshadowed by all the trash that's out there, but there's a lot of good women out there. So don't waste their time. And good women, allow some grace. Sometimes a man might not be able to, or might not want to go as fast as you want to go, and vice versa. But fellas, don't be stringing these women along. And if you're gonna ghost them, just don't do it, man. Just have a conversation. As much as you might not want to hurt their feelings, or you trying to keep them around just because you want them to be an option, don't waste their time. Just don't. Young lady told me that she was talking to an older dude, and mind you, you're older. If you're an older dude, you should, come on, man. There should be no reason why you can't have a conversation and be direct. She said that she's talking to the dude, everything was going well, smooth, fantastic even. And out of nowhere, he ghosts her. So she kind of gets into that. What's going on? Is it me? What did I do? Eventually is seeking closure, wants to know what was the problem. And lo and behold, one day she's out having a drink and dude strolls in. It's like he saw a ghost. No pun intended. He literally had no words. So she says, yo, man, like, we grown. We don't gotta act silly. If something came up, it wasn't the right time, say something. That might even give you an opportunity to have a future with that person because you took a moment to be an adult and to convey your feelings, your message, communicate what's going on, whatever the case may be, so that that person didn't feel vulnerable, didn't feel like they're confused, didn't feel like they did something wrong. You treated them with human decency so that, one, you're not stringing them along, two, you're not keeping them in limbo, and three, you're respecting them, because that's part of that's part of the game. Like, you got to give respect, especially if somebody's giving you respect. You got to give that right back, reciprocate that, and respect their time, respect their feelings, respect where they are in their life and what's going on with them. That if they prioritize you, if you can't prioritize them or you can't make them a staple or an important part of your day or whatever the case may be, let them know that. Let them know what you're capable of. And if they choose to deal with that, that's the agreement that they made. But if they don't choose to deal with that and that's what you're putting them through, that's messed up, dog. That's wasting their time. Don't waste their time. So at the end of the day, communication and respect are the most important factors in that relationship building stage, when you're trying to get to know somebody, so it doesn't end up being a situationship, so it doesn't end up feeling like you're just breadcrumbing and stringing somebody along. Because if you want somebody to respect your time, respect your effort, respect your feelings, you got to give that respect too. And with respect comes communication. You got to be able to talk, articulate yourself. Don't leave a person in limbo trying to guess what's going on. And not for nothing, I hate gray areas. Sometimes you gotta have them, but if you can keep it black and white, that's all right. Yeah, I know. It sounded corny, but it is what it is. It's the facts. If you can keep it black and white and there's realistically a small margin for a gray area, there should be no confusion. It should be all understood, whatever it is that you guys agreed to do. Whether it's agree to be committed to one another, agree to date one another, agree to be in a situationship, but the breadcrumbing and the ghosting, that's unacceptable behavior. It don't rock. It ain't flying. It ain't no good. It's not just me. I know it's not just me. What's going on, y'all? It's Mr. MoTo, and let me tell you about Camp What About Us. It's the adult summer camp that you don't want to miss, all right? It's going down June the 13th to June the 15th. We got basketball, softball, kickball, flag football, wall climbing, go-karting. We got tons of events, tons of activities to get into. Oh, man, everything from wellness to chilling and just, having a good time. Being nostalgic about being a kid again, man. Remember, June 13th to June 15th, campwhataboutus.com. Sign up. So, after this episode goes up, I still want y'all to comment below. Let me know, have you ever been ghosted or have you ghosted somebody? And what was the experience like? Share, engage with me, and, maybe you'll be featured on the show. I'll keep it anonymous. I ain't got to put your name out there. But, just speak your piece. Because we're trying to just make sure we could fix what's going on out there. Like, we ain't trying to point no fingers or keep the fingers pointed. We're trying to find solutions. We know the problem. Let's find some solutions. Let's fix what's going on out there. And listen, if you got a crazy breadcrumbing story, share it. Let us know. Let's see where your head was at and how you've managed to keep these people just wanting more and you were giving less and less. How? How'd you do it? Maybe you'll be featured in our next episode. I'm just saying. Nah, it's not just me. You're now tuned into Nah, It's Not Just Me podcast with Mr. MoTo. Let's talk about it. All right. So, in summation, communication, respect, human decency. Let's avoid the ghosting. Let's just have communication. Let's articulate ourselves. Let's share our feelings. Don't keep them compartmentalized and trapped. Let them loose. Share your feelings. All right? That's what can help mitigate a lot of the confusion, the self-doubt, the self-blame, the lack of confidence. Because a lot of that does take away from your confidence. It makes you not want to shoot your shot. Like, who wants to keep getting ghosted? Who wants that? Who wants to be led on? Who wants their time to be wasted? And some people don't even want to waste their time with situationships no more. They want stability. They want that real thing. So, to each his own. Sometimes a situationship is what makes sense for you. But if it don't make sense for the other person, don't force that on them. It's just not fair. So, that was episode 2. You already know what to do. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to let us know maybe a topic that we should be, talking about, call us up. 929-324-1244. You could leave a message and let us know what's up. Tap in. And look out for episode number 3. We're going to be talking about casual versus commitment. Why is it so hard for people to just commit these days? Like, why? Nah, it's not just me. The podcast that just talks about things that I ain't the only person thinking about. Because I know it's not just me. Tap in, y'all. Peace.